Good morning, traders. It is Tuesday, the 4th of August, 2015. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Not a heavy news night last night for us here in the U.S. UK PMI data showing the slowest rate of expansion since May. European markets are lower this morning. Asian markets were mixed today as central banks of Australia and India held interest rates unchanged. Gold is higher, oil is higher. The US dollar is lower versus the pound, yen, and euro. There's an ongoing focus on the oil price. More weakness yesterday evening with Brent breaking $50 to the downside. I'll show a chart of crude. I talked about crude last week, and I had spoken about an impulsive move down long term that looked like it was incomplete, and I expected a lower low, and it did put that in. Those who didn't hear about it, the S&P downgraded the EU outlook to negative from stable yesterday. That came out at about noon. The rating's now AA+. China stock exchanges revised short selling rules. The rules used to be that you can't short sell at all. Now you can't borrow and short on the same day. Several local brokers suspended short selling operations as a result. Looking ahead today, at 8:45 Central, ISM New York. This is a minor figure. At 9 Central, 10 Eastern, we're looking for U.S. factory orders expecting 1.8%. At the same time, we're looking for IBD tip economic optimism expecting 47.6. And then after market, we're looking for earnings on Disney. And that's really it. There's not much on the calendar for today. Let's discuss briefly here what we saw yesterday. So let me pull back my notes from yesterday. The primary hypothesis yesterday coming in, for those who watched the Trader Bite, we were expecting a choppy open since the overnight inventory was balanced, and we're opening against the prior point of control. So you can see the prior point of control right here. Let's move the screen over. Okay, so you can see the prior point of control right here. And here's the opening price. These dotted green lines are the opening price. We're opening up right against the point of control. Inventory was fairly balanced. Not much for the market to price in. So my expectation was for a choppy open. The opening type was an open auction in range. As it was very tight. The opening swing was to 20.97 to 20.99. And then it broke loose and it dropped 6.25 points or so on one rotation. The hypo, the primary hypo, was for sellers to dominate the trading up to 2102.75. So any buying, if it does come in, was expected to be dominated by sellers all the way up to 2102.25, and the target was 2089 quarter. So we missed it by one tick right here. We're looking for 2089.50. Actually, I'm sorry. The low, it put in a low at 2089.75. It missed it by a tick, and then it immediately found buyers and had a pretty decent rotation right back to the open. So here we are at the open, the dashed line again, trying to regain the OS, the opening swing, and it gets right to the open, and then it's immediately rejected with a very wide rotation, 15 points, without a 15-point rotation right here without a 1.5 point pullback. We have a 1.5 point pullback, and then we drop again 4 more points. From there on out, it's pretty choppy, and sideways. The point of control gets moved down. You can see the point of control moving down right here. There's a lot of fuel here. There's an impulsive move that took place right back here. The expectation was for a continuation. So I was looking for the drop, the chop, and then another drop for a continuation play. And that just never happened. Instead, the market rallied. We don't see that often. It's in the cards. It's not always that we get a continuation move on an impulsive move, but it's more likely than not that it would continue lower. But early on, you could see the low of the prior session here, Friday session. So early on, what the market accomplished is it chopped for a very brief period. It tested below the prior day's range, then it tested into the prior day's range, fought it pretty good, and fell back out. To me, this looked like shorts all the way. So Hypo 1 was dead on down to 2089.50. And then the extended target for Hypo 1 was 2082.75. 2082.75 was right here. And you notice that the point of control is 2082.50. Where did those prices come from yesterday? We went over it a little bit. Your 2089.50 comes from several convergences. The high, and then it's also a CLVN, and then the 82.75 was the next CLVN down. And you could see here from this profile from last week, on the rally of last week, there's really not much to hold us together. So below the 2080 area here, this is a very thin profile before we get down into the 2066. So any selling, if we take out this low here from yesterday, the expectation is we target the 2066 pretty quick. That's what I'm looking for on the sell side. However, yesterday's closing rally was very strong. It did take out the mid. The mid's right here. This bluish line, not the cyan line. That's a VWAP. It did take back the mid, and then the market ended up pushing the overnight session to 2093.50 with a low at 2084.25. Right there. So that combined with an overnight session that was completely balanced. But if we look at the movement of value on the overnight only, so these let's look at these profiles with the blue on them. You'll see the migration of the point of control on the night session. Even though there's not that much volume, you can see that the night session, which includes the Asian and European sessions, are accepting lower and lower prices as value compared to the prior session. So even though yesterday we had a 2082.50 point of control and the overnight session is higher, overall I'm still seeing weakness. Today is likely to determine whether or not the market's reversing upwards. The overnight session is showing a really good taper on the high side, balance, an okay taper on the downside, not so great, but okay, and it's trading fairly strong. The conditions, the way this is set up right now, overnight inventory is balanced. So here we are trading right up against yesterday's close. It's the delta is not showing much on the side of who's more aggressive. It's a positive 1,200 contracts for the night session. So again, we have to default to the fact that this looks like it is opening in a choppy area, and that's what I'm expecting this morning, is another choppy open right in the prior day's range. Keep an eye on the 2086.50 area down here for the LVN. If it does come down and test and bounce up, then it's likely to threaten 2099 and start moving back towards the 2103.75 area. So that puts us approximately 13 points away from where we are now and approximately 16 points from the 2086.50 area. So the primary hypothesis for today: chop, 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 and attempt lower. It's hard to tell whether the acceptance of value, you can see value moving lower here. It's hard to tell if the acceptance of value would be confirmed with more selling, and therefore we would find our point of control down in 2066 today. It's just hard to say, but any failure to bounce off of 2086 is likely to push to 82.50 and is likely to take out this week low. This is this was a very promising setup yesterday. It did not work out, as I said, but it's incomplete. The auction's incomplete here. It did push its buyers, but we don't know if we have buyers that were more motivated below or if selling will continue. My opinion is on Hypo 1 is a choppy open, a test of 82.50, a retest of that 89.50, and then I'm expecting it to push lower, although it's setting up on the overnight session, it's setting up to test higher. So I would give Hypo 1 and Hypo 2 equal weighting almost, maybe a slight edge to lower just because the overall trade is in a downtrend, but Hypo 2 is to test down into the 86.50 area, bounce up, and then target 2103.75. So Hypo 1, chop, test lower, bounce off of 82.50, fail at 89.50, and then push lower to take out the 2080 area, and then target 2066 below. And then Hypo 2, chop, test lower, break higher, find buyers, find some strength, and then push all the way up through to 2103.75. That's the second plan. And our job right now is to wait for the market to open, watch which side is dominant, and then look for areas to lean on in that direction on pullbacks. That's the way I trade it. A quick look at crude oil here. So here's where we were last week. When I was talking about this on the bounce, I had said that crude oil had a pretty decent impulsive move down. That's right here. Pretty decent impulsive move down. We were in the correction in the pullback last week, and I was looking for it to break lower, and it did. And if you look at where it broke to, it basically closed the gap from the lowest low we had this year. So it went right to the gap close at 45.08 on the nose. 45.09 was the prior gap. The point of control was 45.20, and that comes from the low we had back in March. This is the low from March, and we had this gap and point of control left behind, left open, and we just closed those. Very methodical, very methodical. Of course, this is an equalized, continuous contract on IRT using IQ feed data, and you could see here that it went right to the spot. The expectation now is for a small bounce and an attempted continuation lower, and I'm expecting it to take out the 44.55 because this is a weak low on the long-term chart. Even though it's bouncing off of the gap close and the point of control, it's still experiencing weakness. You might see it bounce to 47.11 or the 47 area right here, and then ultimately push to take out its low. Its destination is unknown as of right now because I've not done any measured move studies on that product. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Hopefully you're still finding this useful. The Trade Wisdom session, as promised from last week, it will be out by about 10 o'clock today. I will post it on Twitter. It's pretty much done. Just needs to be uploaded this morning, edited and uploaded. I think this is a really important session. I know I've been saying that for a week, but it's worth listening to. Good luck today, and I'll catch you tomorrow.